Session 3 of Increasing Self-Esteem. My name is Paula and I will be guiding you through the Increasing Self-Esteem CBT course. This material has been adapted from the Increasing Self-Esteem group which was run in the Glasgow South Wellbeing services. This session will focus on identifying and tackling self-defeating behaviours which form part of the vicious cycle. We will consider how we spend our time and discuss the relationship this has with our self-esteem. We will also explore how to make plans to overcome situations we may have been avoiding and how to spend time on the things that we enjoy. But first, let's briefly review what we covered in the last session. We discussed the nature of negative thoughts in terms of how they seem to come out of nowhere, but in fact are based on our negative beliefs. We then looked at common styles of unhelpful thinking patterns in relation to low self-esteem, such as the tendency to make anxious predictions, applying harsh and rigid rules to ourselves and others, or the assumption that we know what other people are thinking about us. We then looked at how to challenge such negative thoughts, using questioning techniques such as looking for the actual evidence for the thought in question, or using the double standard technique to gain a new perspective by asking, what would I say to a friend who is having this same thought? Finally, we explored how to develop a new, balanced perspective in light of all the evidence available, and how to develop a more compassionate alternative to self-critical thoughts. Thought challenging is a skill and can feel awkward at first, and like any other skill can take a while to develop, so the key is to keep practicing. So now that we have explored the relationship between our thoughts and low self-esteem, let us now consider how low self-esteem impacts on our behaviour and vice versa. Here's a list of some of the things you may or may not do due to low self-esteem. You might stop looking after yourself, for example, your diet, making unhealthy food choices, not paying the same attention to your appearance or personal hygiene as you did in the past. You may be drinking and smoking more or using drugs. You might find it difficult to be assertive, to stand up for yourself and express your own thoughts, feelings, and wishes. You might avoid challenges and opportunities. You may be hesitant and have difficulty making decisions. You may be overactive, and this might involve doing a lot for other people. You may be a perfectionist and work extra hard to ensure everything is done to an exceptionally high standard. You may have a tendency to withdraw, to stop socializing and meeting up with friends and family. Low self-esteem can also cause you to give up hobbies and doing things that once made you feel good. Such behaviours can become self-defeating, as at first you may think that they are a helpful way of avoiding distress in the short term, but in the long term, such behaviours can make you feel worse and contribute to the vicious cycle of low self-esteem. We looked at how thoughts contribute to the vicious cycle in the last session. Today we are looking at behaviours in the vicious cycle. I will now explain this in more detail. You may be facing a trigger situation, and by that we mean a situation that triggers anxiety, low mood, and low self-esteem. Trigger situations often threaten our rules for living, which trigger negative thoughts. When you feel this way, you will most likely be having some negative thoughts like the ones we talked about last week. You may be putting yourself down and catastrophizing about how bad the outcome will be. When you think and feel this way, you could decide to avoid the situation altogether, stop doing the things you enjoy, or you might agree to do things that you don't really want to do in order to please other people. After the situation has passed, you may have more negative and self-critical thoughts about yourself for not facing the situation or for not stating how you really felt, and you might also conclude that this is something that I can't face. Such conclusions can further damage our self-confidence and keeps the vicious cycle of low self-esteem going. Let's look at an example of the vicious circle in action. Anna's trigger situation is being asked to give a presentation at her work, and this makes her feel anxious. Anna has a rule about having to get everything right and perfect, because if she makes a mistake, then she believes it means she is a failure. She feels anxious about the presentation with lots of anxious predictions and catastrophizing. Her negative thoughts are as follows. What if I make a fool of myself? What if I forget what to say? My boss will think I'm an idiot. Everyone will see how stupid I really am. I will get fired after this. Anna prepares her presentation a few days in advance. She asks her colleague who thinks it looks really good and reassures her that she has covered everything she should. Anna spends more time going over it again and again. However, the day before the presentation, Anna makes an excuse to get out of it. At first, she feels a bit better. She does not have to worry about it anymore, and the feelings of anxiety go away. Later that day, she starts to feel a bit low and anxious again. She has more self critical thoughts and is being very hard on herself, telling herself she must be a failure because she did not do the presentation. This leads to more anxious feelings, and overall, the vicious circle of low self esteem continues. Avoidance thus becomes a self defeating behaviour and appears to reinforce the negative core belief. Other self defeating behaviours may not involve total avoidance, but may still confirm our beliefs. For example, let's imagine Anna did deliver the presentation, but she was so afraid of others seeing that she was anxious that she held on tightly to the table so no one would notice her shaking. It's highly likely that this would contribute to heightened feelings of tension and anxiety, and Anna's attention is likely to be focused on her own internal sensations. She may neglect to see smiling and reassuring faces in the crowd, which could put her at ease. If you relate to this and find it difficult to manage physical feelings of anxiety, you might find our self-help anxiety course also helpful, which is also available in video format from this website. For now, we will focus on avoidance as a behaviour and ask, why do we avoid situations? It is understandable that when you feel anxious, you would want to avoid the situation that makes you feel this way. Initially, avoiding the situation can give an immediate sense of relief from the unpleasant feelings of anxiety. It also takes you out of a situation that threatens your rules for living. For example, if you had the rule, I must never make a mistake, then you might avoid a situation where you might have made one. So in the short term, our distress is reduced. However, CBT is always concerned with the bigger picture. We tend to find that in the longer term, avoidance becomes unhelpful. As you continue to avoid situations, you gradually lose your confidence in being able to deal with that type of situation. You begin to restrict your life and lose more confidence in yourself. You also never find out how you would manage, how to cope with anxiety symptoms, and how you would deal with things if they didn't go as planned. This is why we call avoidance a self-defeating behavior. Another self-defeating behavior is reduced activity levels. Low self-esteem may cause you to miss out on everyday pleasures and activities that you used to enjoy. You may feel you don't deserve to be doing things for yourself or take the trouble to make your life more fun. If your mood is down and low due to low self-esteem, you can withdraw from others and be less motivated to do the things that you enjoy. Again, this creates another vicious cycle. As the less you do, the more likely you are to say to yourself that you are not doing anything worthwhile or that you're not contributing. You are more likely to have an increased amount of self-critical thoughts, feel worse both physically and emotionally, which will further influence your behavior, again fueling the vicious cycle even further. The good news is that by using CBT techniques, you can break this vicious cycle by making changes to self-defeating behaviors. The first step is to take a closer look at your current activity level using an activity diary to record how you are spending your time. You can do this on a sheet of paper or a notebook. Here is an example activity diary that you can copy. Write down what you are doing each morning, afternoon, and evening. Rate how much enjoyment and achievement you got from what you were doing. You can use a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the best you could feel or 10 being the highest sense of achievement. Remember, a sense of achievement does not only come from doing huge things like a promotion or passing an exam. You can also get a sense of achievement from day-to-day tasks like cooking a nice meal, getting the housework done, or having a shower. Especially as these things can be very hard to do if your motivation has been low because of how you've been feeling. It's important to recognize that doing these things are achievements and watch out for negative thinking undermining what you do. Challenge these thoughts as soon as you notice them. Ask yourself, what would I say to someone I cared about if they were in the same situation? We recommend that you keep this diary every day for a week. Once you have completed the activity schedule, reflect on what you have recorded. Following questions can help with this. When were the times that you felt better about yourself? What were you doing? For example, were you spending time with others or doing something that you enjoy? Are you giving yourself credit for your daily achievements, such as taking the dog out for a walk, making the bed, or doing the dishes? Did you have time for you? Did you have a balance of time for achievement and enjoyment? Did you have time for rest and relaxation? Is there anything you would like to do more or less of? Did you avoid doing things due to feeling anxious or low in confidence? Most importantly, as you look at how you're spending your time, what would you like to change? Do you need more fun activities in your week? Are you avoiding or neglecting things in life, leading to low levels of achievement? Would you like to do something just for you, to treat yourself kindly? Making changes. You can begin the process of making changes by firstly making a list of the things that you would like to do. These could be things you were avoiding due to anxiety, or things that you used to enjoy but don't do anymore. It also includes things that you've never tried but would like to do. Don't rule anything out at this stage. Put the list in order, starting with what seems like the easiest to tackle first. Once you have chosen something, break it down into smaller steps and plan what you need to do to make this happen. Don't forget to challenge any negative thoughts or anxious predictions that are holding you back. Remember, it's normal to still feel anxious if you are facing up to doing things that you've been avoiding. For example, if you've been withdrawing from people and you notice this is having an impact on your mood, you might have reconnecting with friends on your list of things to change. It might be easier and more appropriate given current circumstances to break this into smaller, more manageable steps, such as sending a text or interacting through social media, then maybe phoning a friend or family member. You may follow this up by making a commitment to stay in touch more regularly, such as phoning someone on a weekly basis. You can use your activity planner to schedule this into your week. Practice spending time in each situation until you feel confident enough to move on to the next step. In planning each step, consider when you are going to make a start. What are the specific things you need to do? When and where are you going to make these changes? Who can help you? If your mood is low, it can also take time before getting the same sense of enjoyment from things in life. As you continue to do things, your mood should improve. And along with changing negative thinking, you are actively doing things to make changes and break the vicious cycle. Give yourself the credit you deserve for this. To help keep things going, you can use the weekly activity diary to plan your week ahead and include the things that you've started to identify from your list. Make the amount of activity reasonable, including time for rest and relaxation. Try and have a balance of how you spend your time, with a mix of time for others, time to yourself, time for things that give you a sense of achievement, and time for things you enjoy, such as taking a relaxing bath or watching a movie. Review your plan at the end of each week. If things don't go to plan, you can work on why this happened and use this information to plan further changes. Remember that you are not superhuman. Making changes to your behavior takes time and things can get in the way, including negative thoughts and unexpected events. Sometimes you can feel a bit stuck. We will look at some common stumbling blocks and ways of addressing these. You could be saying to yourself, what if I can't think of anything pleasurable to do? Ask yourself, what did I enjoy doing in the past? What are things I could do, even if I've never tried them? What do your family and friends do? Could I do this? Where can I get inspiration for activities? Think of social media pages, community resources online, such as virtual book clubs or guided fitness classes. Another stumbling block could be, I have too many things to do for others. Ask yourself, do I have to be doing something every minute of every day? Who or what am I doing this for? Is there anyone else who could help me out? Have people offered and I've said no? Is there a negative thought or rule holding me back? For example, I should be able to do this on my own. What's the worst that could happen if I don't get this all done today? What if my plan failed? This does not mean that you are a failure. Failure is an event, not a person. So be aware of self-critical thoughts and unhelpful rules coming to mind. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? For example, did you try to do too much? Did you need to break things down into smaller steps? What did you need to put in place to make your plan happen? Or is there another option that would be easier to carry out at first? Watch out for undermining what you have done. If you're feeling low in mood, your energy levels and motivation can also be low. So things can take longer to do and take more effort. We are almost finished session 3. Just to remind you of the main things we have covered today. Low self-esteem can have an impact on your behavior and how you spend your time. This can lead to what we call self-defeating behaviors, such as avoidance, doing less, or doing too much for others. These behaviors are part of the vicious cycle that keeps low self-esteem going. Making small changes to how you spend your time can help increase your self-esteem and build your confidence. We hope you have found this session helpful. You can find more information on activity scheduling in the self-esteem booklet available in the resources section of this website. Session 4 is next. This will cover assertive communication. Thank you for listening.